coming from Steph to you, giving you my UFC Fight Night picks and also fantasy advice. I kind of use this to be tailored towards DraftKings because that's what I personally use. And just kind of like a little disclaimer here, I'm not going to go into as much detail on some of the preliminary bouts just because some of these fighters are not as well known. So I'm kind of just looking at records here and also, small clips that I've done in my own research. First fight they have in the Bantamweight division, Jose Quinones versus Leonardo Morales. Now, Morales is 4-1. He's the taller fighter. He's coming in about 3 inches taller than Quinones. He's got all 4 of his wins have been finishes, whereas Quinones, he's got I think he comes in at 3-2, and he has 2 knockouts under his belt. But Morales, with only having 4 fights, he's priced at 40. He's priced at 10,600. Yeah, 10,600 on DraftKings, and so for that kind of money, I wouldn't go on such a fighter that there's not much that we've seen of him. Next up is in the middleweight division. We've got Ricardo Abreu and Jake Collier. This one's seems like it'd be a pretty good fight. Abreu comes in priced at 10,500. Collier is at 8,900. Abreu, he has all of his fights have been finishes. He's finished every single fight that he's been in. So for the 10,500 might be worth it. If you're looking for some high point potential. Jake Collier, he comes in at 8-2. I think he's got 7 finishes. The only thing about him is he hasn't really fought. I looked at his record. He hasn't fought much talent. So again, but maybe for a flyer, if you want to just take a risk on somebody low and low pricing to have a potential win for you. Next up, lightweight division, we have Justin Edwards versus Joe Proctor. Edwards comes in 8-4. He's got 7 finishes, so only 1 fight he is not finished. He does have 3 decision losses as well, so kind of hard to kind of finish. And he's priced pretty good. Edwards at 9,100. I mean, I would take him as a fantasy flyer just on that premise alone. Joe Proctor coming in at 10-3. And he has been submitted once, knocked out once, and gone to 1 decision loss. But for 10,300 that he's priced at, I would stay away from Joe Proctor. But Justin Edwards, if you're looking for a low-priced, high-potential guy for you. Next up in the lightweight division, priced at 10,200, we have Chris Wade. The thing I don't like about Chris Wade is he is 9-1, but 6 out of 9 wins for him have been decisions, so he's not going to probably score you very much points. He does have 3 submissions, and his 1 loss was a decision, so it's not going to be finished as easily. But again, I don't like guys that go to the decision line. It's definitely not for fantasy rules. I don't think he'll win this fight anyway. He's going up against Christos Giagos. I watched a lot on this guy. He's coming in 11-3, but 9 out of 11 of his wins have been finishes, so a lot of big point potential there. Now the only thing is he has been submitted 3 times. All 3 losses have come via submission. So there is the opportunity, but I don't really see Chris Wade as a submission artist. And at 9,200 for Christos Giagos, this is one of my my fantasy picks that I would definitely take to the bank. So Christos Giagos, I would take him. Next up in the welterweight division, you have Omari. I hope I'm saying this right. Omari Akhmedov. Akhmedov comes in at 14-2. He's got 11 finishes, 2 submission losses though. So I mean I think he's got 6 knockouts, 5 submissions. So a high finish rate should do pretty well for you guys. But again, he's priced at 10,800 here. So he's going against Brian Ebersole. Now this guy is got to be he's got some of the most fights I've ever seen. He's coming in with a record of 51-16, and he has 34 out of 51 fights have been finishes. But I've seen this guy fight. I think he's just not on the level of a UFC fighter, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. It's nothing personal. It's nothing against him. It's just I've seen him fight, and I haven't really seen a fighter instinct in him. And he's priced at 9,300. So I might look at this as is a bit of a lock if you're for Akhmedov. Down to the heavyweight division, these fighters are matched evenly, both priced at 9,700. Shawn Jordan, 17-6. He's coming in at 6 feet tall. 16 out of his 17 fights have been finishes. He has been knocked out 4 times. Now here's the thing: he's fought tougher competition than Derrick Lewis, his opponent. Derrick Lewis is slightly bigger. He's 6'3". He's like 3 inches taller. Comes in at about 15 pounds heavier. Now all of his fights have been finishes as well, but he was just knocked out by Matt Mitrione, and Shawn Jordan has actually beat some pretty good guys. So I would look at Shawn Jordan in this heavyweight, but again, with heavyweights, it's hard to tell. One fight could just change it all. So I would lean towards Shawn Jordan just on the fact that he can kind of finish the fight in more areas, I feel. And down to the Bantamweight division, this is a fight I'm really excited for. Francisco Rivera is coming in at 10-4. He's got 7 knockouts. He's gone to decision 3 times, and he's a pretty good fighter. He's going up against Alex Caceres. Now, Francisco Rivera is priced at 9,600. Caceres is priced at 9,800, so he's slightly less. This is another fantasy pick that I would definitely throw in for you guys, that I would take to the bank. I think Rivera will do very well, and he should get the win. And next in the Bantamweight division, I've got Anthony, I'm saying this right, I guess some of these guys got some win. Birchak versus Joe Soto. Joe Soto, I believe, is a lock for this fight. Birchak came in 11-2. 9 out of his 11 fights have been finishes. He has been submitted twice, and out of his 9 wins, I believe 6 of them are submissions. Joe Soto, though, he's an animal. I mean, this guy, I like to watch some of his fights, and he's got 13 out of his 15 wins have been finished. He's only gone to decision twice, 8 submissions, and his last fight, which was his UFC debut, he went 5 rounds. Now, he did lose, granted, but he went 5 rounds with TJ Dillashaw. I mean, that's pretty impressive. He went 5 rounds with TJ Dillashaw. And now the only bad thing about Soto is all of his losses he has been finished. But again, I just think he's the superior talent. So I would take him at his price of 10,200. Next in the lightweight division, we got Thiago Tavares. He's going up against Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is a pretty new fighter. Comes in at 8-0, 4 submissions, 4 decisions. Never knocked anybody out. Tavares, 15 out of his 19 fights have been finished. He's finished the person. He's got 13 submissions, so he's an absolute master on the ground. He has been knocked out 3 times, however, but since Ortega is not a knockout artist, I wouldn't be too worried about that. So go ahead and take Thiago Tavares. I see that being a pretty solid pick there. Next up in the lightweight division, we have what's this guy's name? How do you some of these names? Yancy Medeiros. I hope I'm saying that right. Yancy Medeiros versus Dustin Poirier, and Medeiros comes in at 11-2. 9 out of his 11 wins have been finishes. He's got 6 knockouts. I think he was beat by Miller a couple years back, but it doesn't really matter. He's priced at 9,000, but he's going up against Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is priced at 10,400. He's a pretty solid fighter. I mean, I'd say top 5 in the division. He did just come off of a knockout loss against Conor McGregor, but I mean, you can't win them all, I guess. And Conor McGregor is no slouch himself, obviously. He's got 14 out of his 17 wins been finishes. He's got 8 knockouts, 6 submissions. I think he'll be a lock for this fight. Take Dustin Poirier as a definite lock. That's my fight pick of the night. So definitely look for him to have some big numbers, Dustin Poirier. Next up, we got heavyweight division, Matt Mitrione versus Ben Rothwell. Now, it's funny, with only a record of 9-3, they have Mitrione priced at 10,500 and Ben Rothwell priced at 9,100. This is a juicy matchup if you're looking to make some money. I would really lean towards Ben Rothwell in this fight. Now let's go to Matt Mitrione for a second. Matt Mitrione has 8 out of his 9 wins have been knockout, and he is on big 3-fight knockout win streak, and he's only been knocked out by Roy Nelson a few years back, and he was submitted by Brendan Schaub. But he hasn't fought in very many fights. He came into fighting, fairly late in life as far as fighters' career, length goes, and he's just, Ben Rothwell's fought a lot of people, and he's beat a lot of people. His record doesn't necessarily, look as pretty, but he's 34-9, 31 finishes, and he's got 20 knockouts and 11 submissions. So, he can kind of win the fight everywhere where it seems like Mitrione, if he's not going to knock you out, he's not going to win. So I would take this one definitely to the bank. $9,100. He's a big underdog, but take Ben Rothwell on this one. Now, that's not to say he's a lock for sure, but he could get knocked out. But I just see that he can win this fight in more places than Mitrione. Plus, he's the larger fighter. Lastly, we have Dan Henderson versus Tim Boetsch. Now, Tim Boetsch is priced higher at $10,400. Dan Henderson's at $9,000. Now, here's the thing about Dan Henderson, and I know he's a, icon in the sport. He's a UFC Hall of Famer. He's going to be a UFC Hall of Famer. He's just a great fighter, but he doesn't have too many. His record's 30-13 with 16 finishes. So he goes to decision a lot of times. Not going to be a great fantasy pick, I don't believe, because he's not really, half of his fights have gone to decision. Now, here's the problem. He's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Musasi, and he lost to Cormier. Now, those are obviously top fighters as well, but here's the even bigger problem with Dan Henderson. He has lost 5 out of his last 6 fights. So, that's not very promising. And I also understand he's 44 years old. However, at $9,000, if you're looking for a possible boom or bust pick, I would lean towards him in this one because Tim Boetsch hasn't fought too many. The guys that he has fought that are top-tier guys, he hasn't really done well. I think the only top fighter that he's ever beaten was Yushin Okami. And Tim Boetsch comes in 34 years old, 13 finishes out of his 18 wins. He's got 8 knockouts, 5 submissions. Let's see here. He has beat guys like Yushin Okami, Dalloway, Tavares, but he's also lost to guys like Mark Munoz, Luke Rockhold, Talis. He just came off a loss to Talis latest, and he's also not done very well either. 4 out of, instead of Henderson's 5 out of 6 of his fights being losses. Well, Boetsch, out of his last 6 fights, he's lost 4. So if you're looking for some good bang for your buck, I would definitely look at Dan Henderson for this fight. So those are my picks. Like I said, look to get some good value, but if you're looking for that main event, look for Dan Henderson. Alright, so this has been From Steph to You. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys around.